Good afternoon. My name is Talish Ray. I am a practicing lawyer and managing director of TRS Law Offices, and it's my absolute privilege and pleasure to bring to you this special initiative that is there by CII India at 75 Project Office. With where India and 75 is concerned, we are basically looking at the dreams of an India and of fulfilling what is the destiny of the country along with all the other aspects that carry us along so that we can move away from the colonial shackles have often plagued our country. And with that in focus, we bring to you today's session. And that session is actually very interesting because what it does focus on is ancient wisdom in modern India. Now, as you know, that ours is a very, very old ancient civilization, a civilization that has amalgamated the best of what has been brought by those that have called it home throughout centuries, but at the same time, one where continuity of knowledge has often been a challenge due to the various factors that bring in, because of the fact that ours is a land where we tend to treat everyone who comes to us as one of our own. And with that in aim, we have an excellent panel of very, very revered professionals who are joining in. I would like to first introduce to you the senior most, which is Professor Abhay Kumar Singh, who is Professor and Dean, School of Historical Studies, Nalanda University. Welcome, Professor Singh. We are very well aware of your work, which is research that focuses on international trade in ancient India. And we are hoping that through the session you would be able to take us, because as one of my favorite historians had put it, history doesn't repeat itself, it often rhymes. And perhaps it will make sense of a world that is multicultural, and very well integrated in the global order, which ancient India also was very well integrated. So, welcome, sir, on this session. We are also joined by Professor Arun Tripathi. Professor Arun Kumar Tripathi is a very revered name again. He's the Vice Chancellor of Uttarakhand Ayurveda University in Dehradun. He is known for the practice of the ancient Ayurvedic art and science that is there. He's been teaching for a number of years, which is over almost 2.5 decades. And as the head of and the vice chancellor of the Uttarakhand Ayurveda University, we are hoping that Dr. Saab will lend us light into what are the integrated practices. Now, in order to bring in the industry part of it, the focus that has come in, we are joined by Mr. Ajay George Verghese, who is the head for Bipasha Ayurveda. Bipasha Ayurveda is a 9-decade-old brand based in Kerala, but has gone all over and has been quite a bit in news, especially since COVID has really brought in the wellness industry and the realization that it is not exactly only one form of medicine, which is often recognized as the Western form of medicine, that has helped the human body heal, but ancient traditional practices sometimes have been better at being able to cope with the newer evolving forms of diseases, viruses, bacteria that are within our society. So, welcome everyone, and thank you so much for joining. I would actually like to start this session by giving it over for 2 minutes so that we can have our opening remarks. So, Professor Singh, I'll start with you and then take up Professor Tripathi and then go on to you, Mr. Verghese. Professor Singh, looking at your expertise in terms of interactions between not just in trade, but also in terms of statecraft, in terms of diplomacy from ancient India, how do you perceive the wisdom that we have gained and the knowledge that we already have? How do you think that it can be used today for our country to be able to navigate the current slightly uncertain global political scene? And where is it that you would ask us to look at if we were to look at it from a very practical perspective of those that are navigating it as a business as well? What is it that we can learn about the strength of the Indian culture and civilization then, which remains even today and would lend an advantage?
Thank you very much. I would first say, as briefly as you asked me, I would say that we have the interactions since long past, remote past. And if being not just as an Indian, of course, as an Indian, I would be proud, but I would say that the interaction has always been successful from all points of view, because this interaction was with open-mindedness. Now, if we go to the remote past and see how we did, we exchanged views with the Greeks, with all the civilizations in China, all the civilizations, and finally, somewhere our view was respected. And that's the reason when India, we never termed ourselves, but we were taken to be the Vishwa Gurus. Now, coming to trade, as you said, trade from India has been very successful, particularly the Roman, during the Roman age, as you said, with the Romans. We had a lot of trade, and the enrichment of a country in gold, as we know it very clearly from the Roman evidence on the records that is we find in the on the Roman side. This trade was successful and enriching India, but it was not exploitative. Again, I would mention this point. The discoveries in navigation and all these things that have been done by the Indian navigators were shared. So look, in all the text, I would not mention much on these points, historical evidence, but right from all the ancient maps of the world, whether it's Ptolemy or even in Periplus, a number of exports, imports, ports, but nowhere is mentioned that Indian traders were exploiting anybody. They were sharing the knowledge. So we have always considered that the rise of the civilization is across. It is not limited to one people, one persons. Our knowledge was shared, mathematics, sciences, Ayurveda, everything. So the approach of the Indian civilization has been, as very well said, that Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam was it was the watchword. It always remained. I would stop here, maybe because 2 minutes.
Right, right. Thank you so much. And we move to Dr. Tripathi. Dr. Tripathi, please unmute your mic. And Dr. Saab, thank you so much for joining us. And where you're concerned, I actually see the fact that currently the world over, we are seeing a resurgence, so to speak, of traditional knowledge systems of health management. And therefore, in that, and given your vast experience, how do you see that the timeless principles of Ayurveda can actually contribute to today's modern individual? For say suppose someone like me, I'm a mother of two, I travel frequently, I work long hours. So looking at someone like me who is an entrepreneurial but professional nature that is there, how do you think that it can contribute to my life, and how do you think that we can integrate it in our everyday life?
Okay, I'm audible?
Yes, sir.
Well, Madam Ray, as you said, in ancient wisdom, how it can contribute to the modern world. As you know, Ayurveda is even more than 5,000 old Indian medicine. And I would say it is all the time making pace with the contemporary era. Time to time, some medicines are being added, some discovery being done, and excluding the era of sometime Mughals and English peoples, Ayurveda was the mainstay medicine in the India and in the neighboring country. Now the days are gone when we are used to talk on the illness. Now it is the era of wellness, and future is of wellness. And as I would say, Ayurveda from the inception used to talk about the prevention and promotion of health. Swasthasth swasth rakshanam. Swasthasth swasth rakshanam, that is prevention and promotion of a healthy people. And even if it is getting disease, then secondarily it is the purpose of cure of Ayurveda. So, as it is primarily for prevention and promotion of health, so it is well timely, and it is making pace with the modern medicine. In the COVID management, the people identified again the role of Ayurveda in preventing such a dreaded disease. Because Ayurveda has a one specific branch of medicine called the Rasayana medicine, which is having preventive and immunity building concepts and medicine for all age group and for every system, even organ is specific. So I would say there is concept of targeted immunity for a particular organ or particular system. So definitely this is a system of future medicine, and in the coming days you will see, as we are marching towards the wellness concept, wellness industry is coming up very fast. So definitely Ayurveda is going to play a major role in such an industry and to the modern world.
Right. Thank you so much for your opening remarks, Dr. Tripathi. I'll now move to Mr. Varghese. Mr. Varghese, in your experience as the MD of Bipasha Ayurveda and the sort of very long association that the company has had with the wellness industry, long before it was even called the wellness industry, if I may so to say, how do you perceive the current trends in the wellness industry? If you can take us through the trends, but also what is it that you see as the future in terms of innovations that might take place in terms of consumer preferences or market dynamics?
Thank you, Talish. Thanks for that great question. I hope I'm audible.
Yes,
Yeah, I think I think it's a very pertinent question now, because I think India's, in fact, the whole world has gone through a transition now with COVID in place. I guess that really triggered the whole question about health and immunity, because I think so far we've always been talking about this, but never had hit us so bad and so severely that it would have shaken or shattered our consciousness towards immunity and health. And I think that's where the real value, or people started looking or re-looking at Ayurveda once again as not just a system of medicine, but also as a lifestyle, as a preventive medicine, and as a process or as a system through which they can take a defense against a whole lot of issues that they had faced during the COVID era. So in fact, what's happened, I mean, there are two things that has happened. One is, of course, all the while there's been a great awakening across the world, like, about Ayurveda, but that was also there in India. But with COVID, it was again that India had a second reckoning with Ayurveda as a system that all of us have to embrace, and all of us were embracing, but we were not taking it up that seriously, is my contention. I mean, that's purely personal, and I'm saying that. But the question is, now we've all started taking up a view of whether, how can I use this as my medicine or my system or my process. But, very interestingly, what happened during COVID is, in fact, COVID, I think resulted in a lot of search for Ayurveda products, and a lot of new approaches towards management of, lifestyle with Ayurveda had come in place. And a lot of startups, a lot of companies have started innovating, or probably it started innovating towards consumer requirements. And I would say Ayurveda would have got very democratized right now, because there is this core system which keeps its knowledge, where, the medications, the products, the therapies, the process of Ayurvedic practice, which has always been strong and still strong and will keep on being strong, is on the core. And around it, now I could see a whole lot of new approaches or new dosage forms or new ways in which Ayurveda can be used as part of a lifestyle is emerging. Like, your question, Talish, you were saying you're an entrepreneur, you travel. Now, what can Ayurveda do for you? I would say today Ayurveda can do almost everything except a few things like, managing an infection or probably taking care of an acute problem. But generally now it can take care of your lifestyle. It can help you keep a balanced lifestyle. It can take care of your mental health. It can take care of your gut health. It can take care of a whole lot of things. So what has changed here is probably Ayurveda is, like, my earlier speaker said, it's evolving to consumer needs. It's evolving to lifestyle. So it's such a rich science that it had everything in it. But today it's evolved, it's customized, and it's also getting more consumer friendly, so that it can be consumed and it can be made part of a lifestyle, which is what people follow today. And into the future, definitely there's a very strong trend. A lot of evolution would happen. Innovation is going to be a core of Ayurveda, where the knowledge, which is so deep, so strong, would be leveraged, and new formats, new approaches, and new ways of applications are going to evolve. I'm talking very general right now. I'm not going specific, but then I guess that's what we are going to see in the next 25 years.
Right. Thank you so much, Mr. Varghese. So I'm going to come back to you, Professor Singh. And I'm going to come back because this was the only question I was actually dying to ask. You are, as a vice chancellor for the Nalanda University. And Nalanda University, we've read about it from the time we read about. The first thing we read in our history books was that there was a great university called Nalanda. And then thereafter, of course, because we don't like to focus on systems of education and we like to focus more on rulers and poets and all of those other things that actually make others worthwhile. Would you be kind enough to get us and lead us into a detailed history of Nalanda as well as bring us up to date as to what is happening in Nalanda currently? Because we have very high hopes at a university that has been named after such a prestigious university would definitely be able to carry some of the flag that the ancient seat of knowledge was known for.
Thank you very much. I would say first, in the very beginning, I would say that, Nalanda is a pride for everybody. And this is, as you feel attached to it, I've seen that's the spirit, because this is the mother of the universities. And for all universities, it does not stand in competition with anybody. It does not want to. The mother never competes with anybody. And it is the mother. And so I think everybody has the same claim, whether they study anywhere in any university, because this is maybe the grandparent or somewhere in the past. So anybody who is attached to Nalanda is very natural for anybody who joins the education in any place. Now, I would begin in the historical way. We had a system of education when we had a guru and a shishya, and teachers used to live. That was Takshila, which was much older, where people used to go and stay with the gurus, and then they learn and come back. This we know about from all the old texts. The greatest innovation that happened in the 5th century is when Kumaragupta, who was the emperor of the Gupta dynasty, he created an institution. So that was the first institutionalized education, where we have residence, a campus, and students coming there and learning, and all these, the society and the political masters, they gave contributions to support this institution. Now, this system this innovation, I think that it contributed a lot for many, many years, because this was somewhere the whole society has come together, and the efforts are very scientific, the disciplines, the studies, and of course the interaction from all over the world that could be organized. So this organization is a major part. What happened with the destruction of Nalanda? As you see, the destruction created that particular havoc. Like if you believe today in God forbid, if the internet fails today, what would be lost is immeasurable. So fortunately for us, we kept on connecting. The same Guru Parampara was still there. So even when the institution had gone, those paramparas again, this resurfaced. Just as when we did not know, maybe I would never say, we always knew the script. But when we were not writing, we kept memorizing. And when the script had gone, still the Vedas and everything was in the memory. So we have parallel and backups, I would say. We innovate, but we don't leave. We have the calculators, but we still remember the tables. Right. And this is how I think that this is the wisdom. So anybody like Ayurveda is resurfaced. As Mr. Ajay is just now said, and of course, Professor Tripathi has mentioned, Ayurveda is a storehouse of knowledge. We have to discover, rediscover. Sometimes we forget it, we discover it again. But that doesn't mean, to my own sense, just forgive me, that's my submission, that we somewhere are stopped to innovate. If we had the complete wisdom with us, the civilization would have ended. There's something which is lacking for us to explore and reach out. The day we would have all entire knowledge, we will be omniscient. We will not be needing to live again. Right. So this is, I would say, and historically, as you see, the coming up of this Nalanda has the same objective. President Kalam had given this very noble idea. So many countries supported it. We have a lot of hopes, and very well given by the Parliament of India is the mandate that we have to recover and give that particular knowledge, share that knowledge with the world, which brings knowledge with peace, with mutual understanding we have to come up. If we have just sheer knowledge and that does not lead us to live the very simple lessons of living happily together, then we are halfway. We maybe not halfway, we are lost. You're in the wrong way.
Right.
So Nalanda is trying to do that because with the subjects and the disciplines that are coming up, they are very modern, as well as the traditional knowledge is not lost. We are trying to put it in the right places, in the right points, and in the comparing, like if we see the two streams, they are converging. So we are trying to see where the convergences are there. Like we have ecology, environment, sustainable development. This is all going on with us. But at the same time, we have the Buddhist studies, Jain studies, Indian philosophies, history. And in history, we are specifically focusing on the interactions, because this interaction has brought us progress, as well as a wider, we have a bigger lab. We see our what we have, what we hold in our mind. We experimenting, that is experimented all over the world. We get to know how how our wisdom affects others. Like this we did recently in our country, yoga. Yoga was there always, but look, yoga is now popular all over the world.
Right.
Because the efficacy of Ayurveda. So I think the wisdom is in many-sided, and we would in Nalanda always be trying to add in this way.
Right. Thank you so much, Professor Singh. Professor Tripathi, agar aap bura na mane, while you were setting up your system, Mr. Varghese had said that time is a bit short for him because it's traditional festival season in Kerala. So if it's okay, sir, I'll take the next question to him and then come back to you. Right. So, Mr. Varghese, coming back very quickly, you informed us about the consumer and the principles that are currently going on, also about the practices of wellness that is there and how it's going. But I would really like to understand, where is it that Bipasha Ayurveda stands in all of this? Because if you ask me as a layperson who's sitting in Delhi at the moment, Ayurveda to me is a life science. It's a life science, but what goes on in the wellness industry? How does one even enter? So I mean, going back to my own example, I'd say, if I would like to know, where do I enter and how does a company like yours sort of fit in? And how do you then as a company take this and the products that you have developed, including knowledge of the consumers, how do you take it to market?
Thanks, Tale. I think that's a very pertinent question again. See, I think it's very current because the current consumer's confusion is exactly what you keep asking. See, number one, let's take it this way, because we normally consider Ayurveda as a system of medicine where you consume a product as a medicine, or you look at it from a perspective of service where you have a problem and then you kind of embrace or take it. The question is, see, Ayurveda is more about wellness or prevention. So it's not just the incidence of anything, but beyond which, like, Professor was earlier talking about yoga, it's more a holistic lifestyle. This is something that we need to understand, because the West have understood it from a very holistic perspective, where they find a lot of solutions for a lot of problems within Ayurveda, which we don't find. So for us, it's either a definition of a product which I took, which took away my flatulence or my bloating, and something I drank. It's just a side of it. What's so great about it? What's so important about it? It is in fact a lifestyle which helps you be healthy, both physically, mentally, and we are all talking about mental health, and there's a whole lot of ways in which this can be embraced, or this can be imbibed, so that you don't have a whole lot of problems which we currently face, which can be related to stress, sleeplessness, or any kind of things what we talk today. This can be reduced, it can be managed, it can be controlled. I didn't say it can be cured, but some things can be cured, some things cannot be. But then the whole point is, this is exactly where, it's a journey. It's not about what one can take, it's about what one needs, and to what extent they would like to embrace this within their lives, so that they can go very deep into it. Because this gives you solutions for a whole lot of problems. See, right from a small issue related to digestive conditions, like, I would say, even neurological disorders, even ophthalmological disorders are now being effectively taken care of by Ayurveda. So when I look at it, it's a whole lot of things that one can take. The question is, wellness is definitely one. So for example, if you take wellness is a big industry today, where you've already heard about ashwagandha, you've heard about curcumin. They are all the basic, simple things that people are just taking out of Ayurveda for their normal daily wellness. But this has got a lot more to do, than that, because this is all about what one needs and to what extent what one wants to go, and to what extent one wants to embrace the system to have a balanced, healthy lifestyle. So that's the extent to which this can deliver. But in India, one issue is we are more often misunderstanding or misinterpreting the science and trying to provide or get solutions for it from a misunderstood concept. So I think this is what we need to put right. So it's not about the system, it's all about how we understand the system today. That's more important than the real system. So I think the West is actually under the benefits, they know how to take the benefit, and they're really taking what it gives. But does a country like India today understand what the system does and how much they can take out of the system for the daily health and wellness is something of a question that we need to put as an open question, which is not an answer, but a question which I want everybody here to start thinking, because this is where I think we are missing, and the whole world is really, seeing or embracing the system, for their lifestyle needs. So this is exactly what I think in India, there's a lot of misunderstanding that's recently cropped up. But in the West, it's better understood because they're basically seeing it from a fundamental perspective of holistic healthcare. Whereas we see it as a product, we see it as a medicine, we see it as something what we get when we go to a doctor or we buy from a shop. No, that's not what it is. It's more a very, very holistic, deep and a deep solution for healthy lifestyle. So that's how it.
Then I'm coming back to my
Not sure whether I answered the question very directly.
So as a lay consumer, how do I interact with Bipasha Ayurveda? I mean, you just think about it. Yes, I don't go to the shops. I have to go to a physician. At what level? Because that's the confusion. And I will, of course, come back to Professor Tripathi about this, because the greater difficulty is trying to find an Ayurvedic practitioner in the city, because we have no, it's a system that is being revived. Therefore, matrices have not been evolved to rate. Yeah. So which Ayurved is better than, because there is the Kottayam, there are others that say Kottakkal, there's Kottayam, then there is suddenly a whole bunch of things that come up, and then they say no, this is not right, you should go right there because you belong to there. So which is where I'd like to ask you as an industry professional, how does a lay consumer interact?
Talisha, I mean, it's pretty easy. I mean, I can tell you about what happens in Kerala, because Kerala Ayurveda is like water. I mean, you can find it anywhere and everywhere. And it depends on what you really need. I mean, of course, the best way is, you search, you can get multiple names and multiple companies which are there, which are offering services or products from Kerala. If it's for, let's say, specific things like eye, there are specific hospitals which offer treatment for eye. I mean, we have got one of the most, I would say the world's leader probably in Ayurvedic eye care from Kerala. So if it's related to, let's say, joint, or if it's related to rheumatic and general issues, there are a lot of companies or institutions which offers like Kottakkal and Vaidyaratnam. They're traditional. They're there for the last seven decades or 8 decades. So there is a tradition. I mean, this is definitely there in other parts of India. Since I know Kerala, that's exactly why I talk about Kerala. I mean, definitely that's there in other parts. So the point is, like we do with any of our problems, we need to search, we need to find, and we need to definitely get in touch with somebody who knows or who's part of the industry. That's definitely a problem. I do agree with you, because this is a common question a consumer asks. Now, whom do I go? Whom do I trust? Where do I get the information from? That's definitely lacking. I agree with the problem what you speak, because from a consumer perspective, sitting in Delhi, how do I get there? I don't have an answer, honestly, to tell you that there are a lot of good companies and good institutions around India. Like, we were talking about Nalanda. There are a lot of good institutions which offer services. They're respectable, they're trustable, they're credible, they're valid. And you can always get what you want. I mean, it's only a question of, but yes, reaching them is definitely a problem. Other than Google or through somebody, it's definitely an issue.
Right. Thank you. So I think that's where, Professor Tripathi, we're probably looking for guidance there. Now, there are two main difficulties that Ayurveda currently, I would see as a lay consumer, as a person who is interested in natural sciences and ancient wisdom, definitely sees. One is, sir, in terms of being able to do away with this sense, which a large part of COVID has done, this distrust that we had for traditional ancient wisdom, which is a bit of a colonial hangover, I must mention, because how is
Absolutely.
it that they decided that their system of medicine is better than what is ours? Yes, there is empirical studies, and yes, they had made a lot of a lot of leaps and bounds in terms of progress post the world wars about the kind of interventions they could do in medicine. But today, what are the kind of innovations that you are seeing in Ayurveda which would be able to bring back the lay person to the Ayurvedic system of medicine as a complementary alternative therapy, but also as a mainstream therapy as a lifestyle? The second part of it, sir, is that where does a lay consumer start if they want to turn away from Western medicine to an Ayurvedic system of medicine, which is a very holistic system of medicine?
Well, I am audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Well, I thanks to the Professor Abhay Kumar Singh ji for raising the basic issues. Same is true with the Ayurvedic literature also. The much of the Ayurvedic literature sometime have been lost, but again it recovered and come to the surface now in the name of Sangitas. Charak Sangita, Susut Sangita, Kashyap Sangita, and many more compendium are there. But today, it is all digitized and making pace with the modern science. So today, peoples are trying to look Ayurveda with the framework of science. Ayurveda is definitely a very scientific, holistic medicine, but the way of understanding a bit different. I would start from the very basic concept of Panch Mahabhut and Tridosh. We all know the word is Panch Mahabhautik. Everything in the word is Panch Mahabhautik. Out of these Panch Mahabhut, the three biological humors for the body is Tridosh, Vat, Pitta, and Kapha. So the human physiology in Ayurveda is being interpreted in terms of Vat, Pitta, and Kapha, and the basic trait controlling it is the personality, prakriti of an individual. You know, every person is having its own kind of personality or prakriti as called in Ayurveda. So a different set of body constitution with a different set of characters, physiological and anatomical, and at the same time psychological also, people can be identified with their individual personality. So a good Ayurvedic physician always start from the reading personality of that individual, and accordingly he read the set of characters and accordingly he design an individual need of that person in terms of health care or the medicine. Like Panchakarma therapy is very much popular, and I would say it is more popular in South, be it Kerala, than to the north in our states. But peoples are getting familiar with this, and it is in the north again, it is in a resurgent way. So, Panchakarma is not the complete therapy. Panchakarma is a purifying process of the body. Before starting a complete therapy, a body need to be purified. For this, the Panchakarma therapy is being used. You know, the Ayurveda is having consideration of 6 ritu. जो 6 ऋतुएं हमारे यहाँ हैं, these 6 ritu are altogether changing, and as per change of the ritu, there is requirement of change in lifestyle, in dietary style, in living style, in everything there is need to be change. This is called the Ritucharya or Dincharya or the seasonal change is required there.
Ji.
So this basic concept of Ayurveda is need to be understood by the public as large, because we know our kitchen is a very good small clinic, and everybody is following this concept in their dietetics. Where to use haldi, where to use ajwain, where to use methi, where to use dhania. This kind of concept in our Indian dietetics is very much scientific and primarily based on the concepts of Ayurveda, because the Sadras, 6 type of basic taste out of these herbs and diet, they are the primary concept of how dietetics is decided in Ayurveda. Now coming to the modern world, as we said, the wellness industry is coming up very fast. The herbal medicine requirement is coming up very fast. I think the herbal industry is booming at the rate of 10 to 11%, and at the same time, the wellness industry maybe 20 to 25% annual growth is there. So this kind of resurgent is there in the Indian industry, be it the wellness industry, be it the herbal industry. But the basic challenge is there. So far as the herbal industry is concerned, there is challenge of availability of good, identified, authentic quality raw herbs.
Right.
Usually, so far we are dependent on the forest produce, but the unlimited and undesired exploitation of these things definitely have their rider. We cannot go exploiting the things undesirably. So there is a strong need for a good governance policy of cultivating the medicinal plants, the MSP of these medicinal plants, so that the farmers come forward in this field, and so that the availability be available for the round the years and across the areas, because some herbs are prevalent in the southern areas, some are in the northern and Himalayan areas. But how these herbs are made available across the zone, this is definitely a good governance policy based on a MSP base, so that the every people think of getting it cultivated. Secondly, the diagnosis and treatment, as you just pointed out, it is not a good challenge. People are now coming to study the Ayurveda with their primary will. Few decades back, people come to Ayurveda when they are not getting admitted in the modern medicine. Now people are choosing it primarily, and the good educated students are now in the market, and they are starting their business, their practice, their industry in this wellness and herbal industry. So future is very bright. There is primarily some support from the government and some support of the industry. I think there is a very good base would be coming in the near future.
Right, sir. Thank you so much for actually lending light in terms of that. But I'm also going to, circle back here, and I would like you, Dr. Tripathi, if you could perhaps then give us, as somebody who's heading Ayurveda University, as to what a lay person can look at if they wanted to integrate on a daily basis in terms of especially mental fitness फॉर चिल्ड्रन, बच्चे जो आजकल हैं जिनको बहुत ही ज्यादा स्ट्रेस रहता है, लेकिन मैं इसमें बाद में आऊंगी सर. I'll come back first to you, Professor Singh, and I wanted to sort of focus on certain things that we are beginning to see in terms of resurgence in and around learning centers as well as day-to-day life. For example, when we look at the concepts of ancient architecture, which actually employs the concept of biomimicry. And we are looking at contemporary architectural designs and urban planning, that we are looking at the sustainability. When we're talking about, actually, we're talking about the planet as well, the crisis that we have, the so-called crisis that we seem to be facing with our resources that are being overexploited. Now, how do you think that ancient wisdom systems of education systems can be applicable and can be rolled out to the current students? I am talking about anybody who may be in any system of education where we may be able to educate them further from the historical context and the ancient wisdom that we have.
And thank you. I would say that in India, interestingly, because we had different grades of education, in the sense grades, when I see there are people studying in villages, small towns, bigger towns and all. So in the previous generation, as I remember about my own self, is that we used to have a different routine which our contemporaries in bigger cities used to have. Like we used to go walking or cycling, and they used to go by bus. So, after some time, the difference started showing, which we all realized very late, that in the health, in the general lifestyle also matters a lot in keeping us not only healthy, but also grounded. So now when we started learning about having air-conditioned classrooms and all those facilities in different schools in bigger cities, people used to be fascinated. But later on, we start feeling, now we are realizing that all that made us physically weak somewhere and too much dependent upon artificial supports. When we remember at schools where we did not even have a fan, and those who used to come early to the class wanted to sit under the fan, that's why they used to come early. So all these things are small things, but my own point here would be, as Dr. Sahib also very well said, so this lifestyle correction is there, and it not only just for the self, it is the environment. So if you look into the Nalanda University, the motto as we have here is that we have man living in harmony with nature, man living as a part of nature, and man living in harmony with man. So this harmony, we don't treat nature to be something which is something an alien to us, which is something we consider in Indian ethos to be a part of nature. So we don't think that we need to conquer nature, we need to defeat nature, something. No, it's not that. It's the mother, she has the remedies. And if there's a ills, those ills are because of somewhere we are flouting a rule which is given by nature, and that is the reason of the illness and our frailties and whatever it is. So the correction in lifestyle is not only, as I said, it is from the inside as well from the environment. In Nalanda, the whole campus has been created as a nature friendly. It is a net zero campus, zero waste, zero energy. And this particular concept, of course, implemented by one of the leading architect of the country, who was Padma Shri, Padma Bhushan, Padma Vibhushan, thrice decorated architect, legendary architect B.V. Doshi ji. So the whole campus design as per the rules of the ancient Vastu. And of course, deriving too much from the ancient Nalanda. Now, the ancient Nalanda, we have cavity walls, we have natural lighting, we have all these structures here in the present times have been created by compressed mud. So these are compressed blocks of mud. They are not burned bricks. The carbon footprint is eliminated somewhere. So the whole campus, firstly, they dug up the earth, the topsoil was saved. Then the earth, extracted earth, compressed into brick blocks through which the structures were. And those tanks which have been created were filled up by rainwater. So water is also taken from all the construction in done with the water that has been harvested through the rains. And in this way, when people come here and the students are living here, there are courtyards, there are spaces which is very much like they are into the nature somewhere. So this sense living in such places, I think that I had just remember that Shanti Niketan had a particular temperament. So nature, living in nature, the harmony here, that is lived. That's not we are in multi-storied building and we have a fine institution and we are cut off from the world. Not that. We have the facility. We have the air conditioning, but that is not the gas one. That is the water that flows, the evap systems. And through those, we have a solar plant through which we have generating energy and heating the water as well. So all these techniques, it is a blend, as I said, of the modern aspects as well as the traditional ethos. So I think the correction, lifestyle correction somewhere is not so outside, and that is stimulus helps us. Inside also we develop the same. So what is Dr. Sahib just said and Ajay ji also said, the faith part of it. The ethos, our ethos says that we have to have faith. Now faith is, we have to have faith in God. We have to have faith in nature, in goodness. That faith is the part. We have to have faith in the doctor. We have a faith in the lawyer. We have a faith in the teacher. We have to have faith in the medicine also, the system of medicine also. Unless if we are doubtful every time of all these things, then we never go ahead. We reach a point and then we give it up. And when we give it up, that's all lost. And then we blame the systems and all. So particular aspect is that there's always a trial in life. But how long we can keep faith, that is the determinant factor. So my only observation is that education is the only way through which we can show the people that what is the right way of living. We have to strengthen these aspects, this mental caliber of faith, and testing is there, and testing and faith again. But we need to recognize the merits. That's very important. We cannot discard. And then we have no right to demoralize, which has happened earlier, that we demoralized our systems. I don't mind if the Western system would have made progress, and it still does. We had a time when we had the Ayurveda which is of Jivak, we had of Charak, and we had Sushrut, who was doing some surgeries as well. So we had these supplementing things. My only thing that concerns me is our education is trying to create people who have now this thinking correction. I need a knowledge correction somewhere. That is how we have to come up with our disciplines. Thank you.
Right. Thank you so much. So, Mr. Varghese, I'm going to come back to you. My apologies. So, where BIFA is concerned, and I'm going to now pull you back from what is ancient to what is going to be futuristic. How do you foresee the role of wellness industry, the Ayurveda complementary industry, in terms of India's global positioning worldwide, as well as looking at what we are seeing it as in the entire global scenario with the rise of wellness industry? Where do you see our industry getting placed? And what do you think are the strategies that businesses can adopt to enhance the global appeal?
You asked me?
No, I was asking Mr. Varghese, sir.
Thank you. Yeah, I think, thank you, Dalish. I think, see, one very important point I would say, I mean, from what all the previous speakers, I mean, especially Professor was also speaking, see, India is a repository of knowledge. I mean, be it in whatever, it is somewhere it got tarnished. Somewhere we've got this lack of faith in our own system. That is, in fact, I would say is the biggest weakness in our society, which we need to really start refocusing on and rebuilding on. If you look at the country, see, we have got a large repository of knowledge, a huge, I would say a huge source. We are a huge source of herbs because we've got so much of biospheres that are around this country. We've got different biospheres around this country, and then there's a huge availability of different types of herbs. And so there is, what I'm trying to say is there is knowledge, there is raw materials, or there are ingredients that can go. The only angle that we may need to now start looking at is to see how we can repurpose, reposition, reformulate or calibrate this whole system to a global industry. Because today, if you look at it, functional ingredients are a $1 billion industry. Functional, and again, cosmetics is a big area. Look at lifestyle, you look at mental health, you look at lifestyle. I mean, the doctor was talking about, panchakarma, services can emanate from this. Herb cultivation was another problem that was defined, that can be another one. Molecular biology can be put here, or maybe let's say, there's raw material shortages. Can we go back to raw material? How do we employ science to create raw materials of these herbs, which may not be available in the future? So these are huge, and there are R&D. We've talked about, can we trust this? I mean, what is the science which proves, So there is a huge opportunity that lies there in scientifically validating what we're all speaking here. Because some say, like we say, like it's been there, it's been, a system that's been followed for centuries now. How do you validate it now? Can we validate it? We can create a whole lot of functional ingredients from the knowledge what we have. We can create, now we've only talked about the ashwagandha, curcumin, or maybe a few other herbs. Now, can we not create 100 other herbs who can be $1 billion industries for us? So if you ask me, this is one industry. Now, you call it Ayurveda, you call it natural, you call it herbal, you call it lifestyle. This can give you a $100 billion worth of revenues. I'm just putting my figures low, but then it's a huge opportunity that we can look at. Two is, when we look at it from a formulation perspective, how can we suit what our knowledge to a modern lifestyle? See, for example, Talish, you are a great customer, a potential customer, as far as I understand from what you spoke. Now, how do I recalibrate this industry for you to meet your needs? Because you're mobile, you're urban, you don't have time. You need to get your information on time. You have, and you're ready. But then the point is, you tell me what is good, where should I go, and what should I consume, and why should I consume? See, I'm talking about the what, how, who, when, and where. If this is defined, there are millions of customers out there who are willing to put money onto this. I'm talking from a commercial perspective, since you asked from a perspective of what is a business potential. I would say there's a huge potential that is waiting. Now, how do we bang this, or how do we as a country? Because like yoga, though was had its origins in India, today it's a global subject now. It's across the world, and you have got different kinds of yogas which we don't even know about, but it's all functional, it works, and then it's great. It's a $1 billion industry. Ayurveda has not gone out of our hands yet, because world had a very late realization on Ayurveda. Today, the world realizes its potential. They're trying to tap it, but they've not been very effective. But India, fortunately, realized it, but it also, at some point in the interim, and I think India started doing quite well. So the question here is now, what are the future opportunities in Ayurveda? Two things. One is, it's never going to be in the format that we have practiced it. It will still remain as a core, like I said, but there will be a lot of innovative for the country is respect the knowledge, have faith in it, make it scientific, leverage the knowledge, innovate, and globalize. So this is how I would like to put it as a mantra, because end of the day, it's not about how do I practice it the way it is. How do I practice the way it is one side.
Ajay ji, I think your network is breaking up, sir. Your network is breaking up.
To meet the requirements, make it palatable, make it understandable. Is it clear now?
No, it's freezing in parts and bits. So I think maybe you're dropping out
Oh,
of
I'm sorry.
network soon, yeah.
Can you hear me at this point?
I can hear you at this point, please, sir.
Yeah, okay. I'm so sorry, because I'm traveling around,
No
so that's a
worries.
point. I'm
No
so sorry
worries.
about it. Yeah.
No
So
worries.
what I'm trying, which point did you get me?
So we were basically we got you pretty much close to from the last 30 seconds. It was sort of lapsing.
Okay. Yeah. So my point out here is to also tell you that, see, the opportunity is huge here. The question is, one side of Ayurveda would be the traditional process or the traditional way in which we practiced it. That will be the traditional approach in Ayurveda, which will always be practiced and will keep on getting practiced. The other side of it is the innovative side of Ayurveda, which is leveraging the knowledge, leveraging the practices, leveraging what we know into consumable, accessible, appealing forms, which maybe a consumer like you can consume quickly. Make the information available, and the whole world would be ready to embrace what is being put there. Because a basic knowledge of it being good is out there. The question about what, how, when, where is the bigger question that we need to answer. Two is, the new customers are not the old customers, so they wouldn't want it to be in the way it was. They would want it to be in the way they want it to be. Now customize it so that you create formulations and more in consumable forms. Now, can we talk about drinks? Can we talk about chewies? Can we talk about gummies? Can we talk about formats which are easier to consume? Rather than trying to look at how it was consumed earlier and how we could do it the way it was and how would we want it to be now. Think about how can we make it for the needs of today, and then we have a larger potential that is out there. In fact, an initial part of my conversation said functional ingredients is big, R&D is big in this area. Raw materials, scientific, molecular biology, come out with, let's take a cell line of a herb and then replicate it. So those are elements. There's hundreds of different ways of doing it, actually. It's a big one, actually.
Yeah, thank you, Ajay ji. So, Professor Tripathi, मैं आपके पास वापस आऊंगी because Ajay ji ने बताया about the innovation that is taking place, and I'm fairly well aware that Ayush genomics is also now a subject and a field that is coming in. लेकिन आपके पास आकर के सर मैं सिर्फ एक मुद्दे की बात पूछना चाहती हूँ। आज के दिन में कोविड के बाद जो है मानसिक तरीके से जिस तरह हम देख रहे हैं हमारे बच्चे, हमारे बुजुर्ग, उनको मानसिक तनाव है। और जब हम आयुर्वेदा की बात करते हैं, और आपने जैसे स्टार्ट किया था कि रसायन मेडिसिन है, कि आप होलिस्टिक हो सकते हो, तो आपको क्या लगता है कि इसमें हम क्या इनकॉर्पोरेट कर सकते हैं आजकल? एंड आई एक्चुअली लीव इट टू यू टू हैव द कंक्लूडिंग रिमार्क आफ्टर दैट, बिकॉज एज दे से टाइम इज आवर एनिमी करंटली। तो अगर आप वो थोड़ा सा बता सकें 5 मिनट में, उसके बाद देन आई विल कंक्लूड द सेशन प्लीज।
ओके, वेल मैं बात चाइना से स्टार्ट कर रहा हूँ। आई वांट टू स्टार्ट फ्रॉम चाइना बिकॉज एज यू नो द चाइनीज हर्बल मेडिसिन इज ऑलमोस्ट covering the 90 to 92% of the world market. The Indian herbal market is a very compressed one, but though it has equal potential to contribute in the world market also. So this much of gap is there, and this much lead can India also take in the herbal market. Coming to your point, the mental faculty, the Ayurveda physician take a person as a one entity. The physical and the mental, both the faculties are so coordinated and works in a all together in coordination. In separation, they cannot be taken as a separate entity. This kind of rational approach, rather I would say the radical approach, is adopted by the modern physicians. They consider them as a separate entity. That's why there is some problem or some challenge in the treatment also. How a mental faculty can be made separate with the physical, the physical entity. Say for the development of memory, you ask about the children's and the stress. No doubt that the stress is rising to a greater tune in everybody. In every walk of life, there is stress. To cope up the stress, apart from the yoga, apart from some healthy diet, there are some medicines as well, and very effective, I would say, that can be taken into account for raising the memory, for recovering the memory, for recovering the all mental faculty. For example, the Brahmi, the Sangpuspi, the Jatamansi, Neer Brahmi, Ashwagandha, Tagar, Sarpagandha. There are a group of number of herbs that are psychoactive. I would say they are psychoactive drugs. Psychoactive doesn't mean on the negative side. They are the psychoactive drugs. They control the various functions of the mental faculties in a various way. It is need of the physician, it is need of the individual, what kind of faculty, what kind of mental faculty action is to be corrected, it to be improved. Say for the Tagar. Tagar is a drug having great anti-anxiety and antidepressant action. Similarly, the Brahmi is a very having soothing effect on the mental faculty. Sankhpushpi at the same time, again, it having the soothing effect and memory enhancing effect. Brahmi is also having memory enhancing effect. Ashwagandha is a very well adaptogenic. So if there is stress, if there is hustle bustle around the life, that body change can be restored and maintained by the ashwagandha. So there are number of drugs. Similarly, in the physical entity also. But the Ayurvedic physician take at a time both simultaneously. So this is the holistic approach. But only medicine is not the holistic component. Start from the diet, start from the achar vichar. Ayurveda talks about the achar rasayan. Initially I talked about the rasayana effect. There are achar rasayan which the same effect of rasayana can be achieved by the following achar, the conduct within family, in the society, interpersonal conduct. You know, sometimes they are the potential causes of the stress. So
Right.
all these in totality, the lifestyle, the dietetics, the medicine, achar vichar, they all in totality come for the positive health.
Right.
And similarly, now coming to the modern temperament, I mean the science, the effective in the older age, equally effective in today's age. But the reverse pharmacological approach the people are now adopting just to prove if we say Sitopaladi is a very good antitussive, a very good cough expectorant, but people want to, on the paper, they want the scientific evidence. So now some good research institutes are taking this task by reverse pharmacology. They know that the Sitopaladi is very good expectorant, but this approach is to be tested in laboratory and then again evidence-based medicine, the people are putting it forward. Now, summarizing, I mean to the future aspect, to the market aspect, to the immunity aspect, I would say the one very important area, you know, the cancer is how much prevalent in our country. Despite the so much advancement in cancer therapy, the success is not there. Now people are thinking towards the immunotherapy. The latest approach in cancer therapy is immunotherapy. And initially I said Ayurveda is a medicine which basically works on the immunity. If you continue use the Sitopaladi or the Rudanti is a single fruit or the medicine which if you use, it raises the immunity of the lungs. So even if there is tubercular mycobacteria in the lungs, the individual is not going to be affected with the tuberculosis. So this kind of immunological approach is coming day by day, and I would say it is the future approach, say in cancer and in some other treatment also. So initially Ayurveda started from the immunity, but again the science is turning towards the whole 180-degree or 360-degree and coming towards the again approach of the immunity, the immunological concept. So in every field, there is concept of immunity, there is concept of prevention, there is concept of promotion, say for the heart disease. I am basically a heart physician. I did my PhD in heart medicine. So there is ample opportunity of, even if the 3 vessel disorders are there is possibility of reversal of blockage, there is possibility of the improvement of perfusion of the heart, there is possibility of improvement in the oxygen capacity, oxygen loading capacity of the tissues. This is all possible with the Ayurvedic treatment and the Ayurvedic lifestyle.
Thank you so much.
Kind of approach people need to understand and need to use in the future also. Thank you.
Right. Thank you so much, Dr. Tripathi, for your time. Professor Singh, if I can request you for very shortly, within a minute and a half, for your concluding remarks so that we may be able to wind up the session, because we are shooting a little over time. My apologies, sir. My apologies for the time, but it is
No,
all.
no, that's perfectly fine. Thank you, ma'am. So I think this, as I mentioned, that the whole approach here is in education, which we are trying to see. Of course, the national education policy has also done a lot of good work. The Indian knowledge systems is also doing. At Nalanda, we are trying to integrate, combine together, and to conclusively settle these points where our ancient wisdom can be settled, that this wisdom has relevance today. We are not shrugging away from experimenting it, showing it or testing it on the new methodologies. We are trying to do that. That also we are trying to do. And just I would conclude what Swami Vivekananda ji had long said, no, we are doing till the education has been learning to do. While he says that it should have been learning to be. So the whole concept is from learning to do, we have to change to learning to be. If we succeed in doing that, in any measure, I think that we will be correcting the system. So trying to see that Nalanda comes up in that way, and we again lead in the way that we don't, that we don't falter again. That's I would say somewhere. This, of course, has been very educative. Particularly, I'm seeing that Ayurveda is making much progress through both the academic and the business side. Particularly, we hope that lifestyle correction we would be introducing in Nalanda also somewhere, and that would be helpful for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us, and to those of you who are watching, keep looking out for the series that we will continue to do in the India in 75 under the CII. And we hope to come back with far more and have a greater in-depth and sometimes even live sessions that would take place, not just virtually, but also in terms of physical presence. Thank you so much to the learned teachers for joining in. Thank you, sir.